My presentation will be on Wittgenstein on Rules and Private Language by Saul Kripke. Kripke is going to argue that there is no meaning to words, which is explained through this skeptical paradox. Suppose you are addressed with the mathematical equation 68 plus 57. Quickly, using our prior finite examples of the plus symbol, we could answer 125, even if we have not performed this sum before. However, a skeptic argues that the answer is 5. He is using this equation. The skeptic argues that if we have performed a finite number of sums below 57, this is our knowledge of plus, that anything above 57 will require the plus equation. So the skeptic is correct. The answer is 5. Kripke asks two questions. The first, is there any fact that I mean plus, not quas? And secondly, do I have any reason to be confident that I should answer 125 and not 5? How can we be sure what function we mean now? Kripke is not necessarily arguing complete epistemological skepticism, but a much stronger claim that there is no fact of the matter. If his argument is accepted, then it generalizes to all meanings. Green could be grew, sun, or sin. He offers a number of straight solutions which he rejects. I will outline a few and detail some. Firstly, couldn't we just learn a procedure for the plus symbol? For example, counting marbles individually is how we add. The skeptic quickly rejects this possible solution. How can we know whether we are counting, not counting? A second solution, could meaning be given by a mental state? We know we mean addition, not quaddition, because we have a specific thought in mind, a special mental entity or mental image. Although the skeptic argues this makes meaning too subjective. How can we ever share meanings or have the same meanings when we share words? Mental images are not necessary for understanding. How many words in this sentence prompt a mental image? Mental images are not sufficient for understanding. Meaning cannot be conferred by a mental state alone. For example, the word rat. An image could come to mind, but the image is compatible with any use of the word at all. For example, the animal, or it could mean the Black Death, or a snitch. An image or symbol can represent anything we like. So even if there was a mental image associated with plus, how could we fix this meaning? Alex Miller says, the picture does not by itself determine the correct use of the associated word, because the picture thus associated is really just another sign whose meaning too requires to be fixed. This prompts the question, what exactly is this image or thought that should be prompted by plus? If we do have a mental entity associated with plus, it is not something open to introspection, and yet we know when we have it, meaning plus rather than quas, it is constituted by my having a special mental state. I know I mean plus, so I know I have this state. But I cannot explain what this state may be or what it is like, which seems pretty desperate. Kripke offers a number of possible solutions, a few of which are on this slide, but the skeptic finds a way to reject all the possible straight solutions, which leads Kripke onto his skeptical solution. The skeptical solution accepts the skeptic's argument that there is no meaning to words, although the solution is that we can still legitimately talk about meaning. We can still attribute meanings to ourselves and others because descriptions of meaning play important roles in our society. This is enough to justify their usage. We don't need them to be true just to show that they are useful. To compare, take the moral error theory, that there are no moral facts. For example, giving money to charity is good and murder is bad. Just because they are not true, it does not mean that there is no use for them. They play important roles in our society to keep order and unity and can be agreed upon. Kripke says, I use the word correctly when I use it in agreement with members in my community. There does not need to be complete agreement, and there is room to make mistakes. For example, 68 plus 57, if someone is systematically mistaken, they could say 124 instead of 125. But how can we say that this is a skeptical solution? Why can't we say that there are facts about meaning which are determined by the community of which we are a part of? His response is very unclear. Morris introduces another problem. There is no fact of the matter of which community I am a part of. The idea of community is very ambiguous. Kripke's skeptical solution tries to show that we do not need facts about meaning by appealing to agreement. But without meaning, how can agreement even get off the ground? Consider the invention of a new rule. A more serious problem is introduced by Paul Hoffman. He says that Kripke underestimates the power of the skeptical problem. He thinks the paradox is that there is no justification in responding one way or another. Hoffman claims that there is no fact whether an utterance of the word plus is a token of a type expressing addition or quaddition. Even saying plus and writing plus could have different tokens. So Kripke's argument is showing that there is no such thing as responding one way or another. So there is no such thing as agreement in responses. And again, there is no such thing as responding either way. So the solution completely falls apart. There is no such thing as agreement in community. The skeptical paradox and solution stems from Wittgenstein's ideas about language, that it cannot be a matter of just having a mental entity or image, particularly because that kind of state does not possess the right characteristics. A mental image or state is not necessary or sufficient for a word to have meaning. A mental image is not required for understanding. These points are reiterated in Kripke's text where he rejects this straight solution. Wittgenstein claims that a mental image does not tell you how to use a word. A mental image is now an additional sign and can have multiple applications, for example the word rat, as I mentioned before. So which rule are you following now? Which leads on to Kripke's thinking. Kripke's skeptical analysis is mostly just a process of elimination. If there is a criticism of the skeptic, then there cannot be an argument or even a skeptical solution. I've evaluated the skeptical solution rather than the skeptical paradox, although I feel that the skeptic needs to ensure that he rejects all straight solutions, which I feel he has not, and I feel there is convincing arguments from Craig Delancey, which could be explored further.